Hey, this is Tom with Scooter Outfitters and Beaufort Mini Motorsports, and been having a lot of questions about how to mix the gas and oil. So if you're interested and you want to know how to do it, we're going to do it in two ways. I'm going to basically just tell you how to mix it by the gallon, but I'll show you how to use this little plastic container that comes with your scooter, so you'll understand on the mixture, and let you see both sides of the bottle. See, just because you read one side does not mean the other side is exactly the same. One's 30-to-1 mix and one's 50-to-1 mix. So we'll see more of that in just a moment, right after the intro. Wow! Hey, this is Tom, Scooter Outfitters and Beaufort Mini Motorsports. And we're here, and we want to do something real quick. There's been a lot of questions about how to mix your oil with your gas. And the concept is really hard for a lot of people because they don't understand exactly how that works. When you first get your scooter, you're going to mix your oil a little strong, and because it's going to need the lubrication. Now, let me explain something. I had a question from a gentleman, a young man who was kind of curious about why you have to add oil to gasoline. And first of all, you have to understand that you only add the oil to the gas if you have a two-stroke motor, not a four-stroke. The four strokes have the regular oil that go in the motor, and it has a reservoir that holds that oil, and it lubricates the inner parts of that four-stroke motor. Two strokes are not that way. Two strokes do not have that capability. So we have to add the oil in the gas that will lubricate the piston, because what happens, you get a lot of friction if it does not have that lubrication. If you run your two-stroke motor without it, you are going to burn the motor up. It's going to lock up. It'll run for a couple minutes, and the rings are going to expand from heat. The piston is. You're going to have an awful mess, and you're going to have to either rebuild the motor or replace it. And be honest with you, I wouldn't waste my time to rebuild it. I would not. If you scored that piston, and those rings will tear that piston wall up. That cylinder wall up. So to understand, you must put the oil in there. Now, don't think that putting more oil in a two-stroke is going to make it better lubricated. Well, it will. But the problem is you're going to foul your plug, your spark plug. See, it's one thing for your plug to be able to fire the gasoline, but if your oil is too strong, you got to get fire from that spark plug to ignite the gas to get the combustion. So the problem you're going to have is your plug is going to foul out, and what I mean by foul out, it's going to get caked up with oil, and it's not going to fire. Some cases it'll ruin the plug, the spark plug, so you may have to replace it. But a lot of times you can just clean the spark plug, you'll be good to go. But mix your oil according to what it's supposed to be. Now, give me just a second. Let me grab this container over here. If you've got an Uberscoot 70X, 50, whatever the CCs is, if you've got a gas Uberscoot Scooter, it's going to come with a container. Hold just a second. You're going to have a container that will come with your scooter. The container is going to look something like this. You'll see the spout. You'll see the top to add your gasoline and your oil. And there's a concept to this. Now you have to look at this very closely. When you look at this, you'll notice very closely. As a matter of fact, instead of trying to look at this like this, let me mark this kind of hard. Try not to make a big mess. But on the side, there is raised numbers. This says 30 to 1. And on the 30 to 1, that is your mixture. That is 30 ounces of gas to 1 ounce of oil. So if you'll notice that when you fill this up, you notice it's done in milliliters. All right. The metric system has never left China and overseas, and something we don't use a lot of here. We just use the standard gallons and ounces, and we don't go milliliters and centimeters and all that stuff. We've basically kept our metric system about the same. And so when you look at this, you'll see it's basically marked 30 to 1 on this side. Okay, now pay attention, because on the other side of this bottle, it has another number. And the other number is 50 to 1. That's 50 ounces of gas to 1 ounce of two-cycle oil. All right, do not use regular motor oil. That is not use a two-stroke motor oil. All right, so we notice that on one side we have 50 to 1. And on the other side, we have 30 to 1. So this bottle will measure two different ways. Now, what you have to pay attention to is this. The bottle on 30 to 1, that is where your probably first 5 tankfuls, your first 5 mixtures should go through on your motor. This is a breaking in period that you're going to need to do on your motor. It'll well lubricate it. It won't over lubricate, but it will well lubricate it, and it'll give that breaking in period, that breaking in time. After that, what you're going to do, you're going to mix it 50 to 1. So your oil mix will not be as strong, and you won't need it as strong. And so you'll do first 5-6 mixes 30 to 1. And I think the book says 25 to 1, but they give you a container that says 31. So just mix it 30 to 1, you'll be fine. And then after, like I say, 5 or 6 run through on your gas or whatever your book says. Don't take my word for it. But if your book says run 7, run 7. If it says run 4, run 4. 4. That's 4. Gas tanks full on 30 to 1. And once you've run that last tank full out, then go ahead and probably, as you start mixing 50 to 1, I would probably just go ahead and get a gallon jug and just mix it that way. Now you say, well, how would I mix that in a 1 gallon? Well, remember, you got to add it up. Now, how many ounces in a gallon? All right. So you add up how many ounces will be in that. You got to figure how many ounces are in a gallon. And if I'm not mistaken, it's 128 ounces. So if you look at your 50 to 1, if you look at your 50 to 1, 128 ounces in a gallon. So we know that 50 to 1 will be 50 ounces and 1 ounce of oil, two-stroke oil. And then another 50 is 100, so that's 2 ounces of two-stroke oil. So how do we break it as far as the the other amount that we need, the 28 ounces? So we try to kind of calculate it in our mind on how to do that. So we say, well, it's going to need probably 2.5 ounces, 2.5 ounces of oil, two-stroke motor oil, in 1 gallon of gas. And so if you 2.5, because you figure 50, it takes 1 ounce. Figure half of 50 is 25, not 28, but it's 25. So you've got 125 will take 2.5 ounces, and that'll do 125 ounces. If you do 2.5 ounces of two-stroke motor oil. That's pretty close to 128, giving you that full gallon on a 50 fix to mix, on a 50 to 1 mix. So when you do that, you can mix up a whole gallon, and you won't have to fill this container up all the time, putting gas in this and then putting oil in it to bring it up to the level it needs to be. And I'll show you how to do that in just a second. But let me show you something a little easier that I use when I mix. Like I have a two-stroke motor on my boat, and I use two-stroke motor oil, and I have to mix that up in my 3-gallon or 5-gallon container. But that mixes 100 to 1. So, you know, with all these different mixes, 30 to 1, 50 to 1, 100 to 1, 32 to 1, 25 to 1, when you're constantly doing that, you got all these ounces, and you're like, man, there's got to be, ain't there a bottle or something that's got all them marks on it that you just make it easier for you? They do have one. Probably the best thing for you to do, if you're going to mix it up by the gallon, is get one of these. If you'll notice, this is, I think I got this at Walmart, or ordered it online or something. But you can order these, and if you'll notice, it's got the mixture for 100 to 1, 50 to 1, 40 to 1. What is that? What does that say? 32 to 1, and 24 to 1. So it's got mixtures here for all different ones. And so say you just want to mix up a gallon of 50 to 1. Okay? Pretty good, pretty common. That's what I did. I just went ahead and mixed up some 50 to 1. And I've got a whole gallon sitting over there of 50 to 1 mixed oil and gas. So I'll use that for the Uberscoot. But I can use it for other things too. But like I said, when I have to mix 100 to 1 for my boat motor, well, then I have the bottle to do it. Now, if you look at this bottle, we're going to look at 50 to 1 because you're going to make sure it's at 50 to 1. Now, you see the scale here? You see on one side it says liters, the other side it says gallons. All right? Now, remember your gallon side right here. You see here? See that 1.0? Okay, that's 1 gallon. That's 1.5 gallons. That's 2 gallons. But that does not mean gas. That means your oil will go, this is how much oil you would need for 1 gallon. This is how much oil you need for 1.5 gallons. This is how much oil you need to fill to if you were going to do 2 gallons, 2.5, 3, 4. And then when you get to 5, where are we at? 1, 2, 3, 4. Wherever 5 is that 5? That's where you need to fill your oil to do 5 gallons of gas. That's a lot of gas. Now, I don't think you're going to want to mix up 5 gallons. So, what we would do is if we want to just mix up a gallon, see right here, if you've got this bottle, this is a 50 to 1 mix, says it right here, right there, 50 to 1. That means all you have to do is fill your oil to this 1.0 point. That much oil right there is all you need for 1 gallon. So you'll fill this bottle full of oil to that point. And then you'll have your gas container at 1 gallon. All right, 128 ounces. You're going to be mixing 50 to 1. That's 50 ounces of gas to every 1 ounce of 2-cycle motor oil. 2-cycle oil mix. And so what you're going to do here is you'll take this after you got your 1 gallon of gas and you'll pour it into the gas. You'll know that you have the right amount of oil measured out because you used this. Okay? Now, if you want to use this, if you want to mix 1 tank full at a time, you can do that. I'll show you how you do that. Okay, if you're going to use this container to mix it with. Now, I've tried to mark it out because it's really hard to see the plastic and the way it's measured. But you see here, you see this little mark right here where it says 1100 milliliters. All right, you see that right there, that little, see this little scale coming right here? There's a little mark coming off here to 1100. You fill your gas to this point right here, right to that little line coming off on the 1100. Once you put the gas in there, then you're going to pour the oil in the same hole. You're going to take this lid off. You're going to pour it in the same hole. What's going to happen is your gas, when you pour the oil in this container, as you pour it, your level of gas is going to rise up. When it does, it's going to hit this line right here. When it hits this line right here, that means you have enough oil in it. Don't keep pouring oil in there because your gas is going to keep rising. So just pour it in until it comes to this point. This is the point here where you want to pour your gas. Once you do that, then you start pouring your oil in this same container with the gas in it, and the gas level will rise to this point here. All right? Now, if you decide to mix less gas, that means that you're still going to have your number here. This is where the gas will go, and that little line right there is when you add the oil to the gas, it will arise to this line, and that's how you mix it. It doesn't matter what lines you go to if you're confused about that, because it's got the lines marked for the oil and it's got the lines marked for the gas. So that's how you would do that. The same applies for the other side on 50 to 1. The 51 and the 30 to 1. This side is the 50 to 1, this side is the 30 to 1. And once again, you'll do the same thing. Bring your gas up to the number. Once you bring your gas up to the number, then right above that number on the other side, there's going to be another line there. That is for when you add the oil into the container, the gas level will rise. And when it gets to that point, that's when you stop. Put the cap back on the lid. When you put the cap back on the lid, shake it up. Make sure these are tight, but don't shake it too much. Don't shake it like this. Just kind of give it a light shake. And when you give it that light shake, it's going to mix that gas up in there. Then once you've done that, all you do is you take this lid off, then take the cap off, and pour this into the gas tank because you have a proper mix. But remember, when you're mixing, remember, you've got your 50 to 1. Remember, it says on the side of the container, 50 to 1. This is the side you want to measure your 50 to 1 mixture. If you just got your scooter and you want to know how to mix it like it's supposed to be according to the book may say 25 to 1, but they don't give you a container for 25 to 1. They give you a container for 30 to 1. Once again, right here on this side of the jug, it will say 30 to 1. I'm not trying to be redundant. I'm not trying to be on the other side, repetitive as far as what I'm saying. I'm just trying to make it where you can understand, because it's very important that you mix right. You mix your oil in here correctly. Once again, do not use regular motor oil. There is a 2-stroke oil that you can get at any hardware store, Walmart, different places. On the front, it will say 2-cycle oil. What I do on occasion, because I have a boat motor that I have to mix 2-cycle oil with, I buy a big jug full. I buy a big jug because I have to mix a lot, especially if I'm going to go out and go fishing. I want to make sure I've got my oil mixed and everything. I don't want my motor to freeze up while I'm on the water because I want a good day of fishing, not a bad day of fishing. So, same with you. You may not be fishing, but you'll be out there riding that scooter. You'll be about 15 miles away from home, and you'll say, "Man, what's wrong with my motor? It's quit." Maybe you didn't mix maybe you didn't mix it right, and if you didn't mix it right, it deserves you right to be broke down 15 miles from home. Because I'm trying to explain it as easy as I can and tell you how important it is that you add the oil to your scooter. Okay? I'm just telling you. So I've tried to make it easy as possible. I've tried not to spend a lot of time doing this. And you say, well, why don't you mix it up and show us exactly what it looks like? Okay, I'm going to take the time now and just do it. I've got some gas and I've got some Earl. I got some oil, 2-stroke, 2-cycle, whatever you want to call it, oil. And so we will add that to the gasoline and see what it looks like. So just hang on and let me grab the gas and grab the oil. So just hold on. I'll be right back. Okay, what we're going to do here, if you can see me, my head's big. That's a big bottle, big as my head. But anyways, what we're going to do, we're going to fill it with gas, and we're going to fill it to the 1100 mark, okay? Get some more gas. Okay, that's pretty close, right there at the 1100 mark. It may not be perfect. This table's a little lopsided, but we're right at about 1100. We're right there at the 1100, maybe a little over it, but that's okay. You don't have to be perfect every time. We can always dump a little out, but no sense in it. We'll just make sure when we come up, maybe we'll just go above the line just a teeny bit like we have the gas. Now watch as we add the oil, watch the line, watch the gas level go up. See how the gas level went up? We still need to go a little more. Alright, we're just about there. We need to add just a little bit more, and our oil mix will be right. So we're going to add just a little bit more oil. We'll add a little bit more because we're almost there. Remember, we might want to go up, over just a little bit. And you know what? That could be pretty good right there. But let's add just a tad more, because remember our gas level, it was over the line just a little bit. So we don't mind being over a little bit with our oil. Okay, there we go. We're about the same. So now as you look, you see that on here that we went from the gasoline here, and when we added the oil, the level went up. So now we have our oil mixed in there according to as we ought to. Okay? Now what we're going to do, you see me? Now what we're going to do, we're going to take and put the lid on here. Take and put this lid on. Put it on there a little snug. And we are just gently shake this up. Make sure your lids are on there tight. going to shake this up. Like I said, do it gently. Be careful not to get this in your eyes. You may get some on your hands. If you're wearing some, if you want to, you can put some gloves on. But remember, when you shake this up like this, you shake it up gently. Don't shake it up like you're going to squirt one of them Coke bottles at somebody. Just lightly, because this gasoline is, once that gets done shaking, you'll notice it's right there. So now that we've got this at the line right above the 1100, and that's where we stopped adding the oil, and then we mixed it up. So that is the proper way to mix it in your bottle here. But as I showed you before, if you want to mix up a gallon, 50 to 1, you can get one of these bottles. That's the proper way to mix it. Get one of these bottles and use it. We've got it. You've got to mix. It's already mixed now. You've got it to put into your scooter. Now it's time to go out there and get to riding. So, this is Tom, Scooter Outfitters, holding this crazy video stand, trying to look at it and trying to tell you, I'm glad you stayed tuned in there. I hope that was helpful to you. If it wasn't, I'm sorry. If you want me to do it again, tell me to do it again, and I won't, because I already did it once. That's good enough. That showed you how to do it instead of trying to explain it to you.